Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome to Cash Talks Football, where I normally break down goals scored in the Premier League, but it's more turning into a VAR channel than anything else. I normally don't do rants, but when it comes to stupidity, I can always say never trust anything that comes out of an ex-footballer's mouth because they're morons. And here's Gary Neville being a complete moron. Now, you have to bear with me because I've got a lot to talk about, and my editing skills aren't exactly great because Boomer and football coach, not really a guy on the old tubes of YouTube. But we're going to talk about Gary Neville. And here he is prattling on about a Muppet saying, oh, kids, if they ask for something on a consensual basis, the parents keep willing to write those checks. Who do you blame? Well, in this case, he's blaming the Glazers. They're the ones that keep writing the checks. So in this way, he's contradicting himself. But his IQ is so low, he doesn't understand this. But we're going to come on to some of the decisions he's talking about here. Because the Glazers, I can fight and argue on the Glazers' behalf and say, basically, they're not the problem at Manchester United. Because on the Glazers' side, if I've given you 1.4 billion and you've spent it wrong and you've allocated players wrong and you've done the wrong things, well, that's on you. And let's clarify some of the things here. Because Gary Neville is one of the biggest problems at Manchester United. And I'll go on to the other ones in a second, more in detail, but I'm going to bullet point the problems and then start outlining them in mad detail. Because he's been a problem at United for a very long time. So, Cristiano Ronaldo City and then panic. No, Gary Neville, you're the one on Sky Sports that said that you got with your little friend Alex Ferguson, got onto the phone at the 11th hour and convinced him to come to Manchester United, not Manchester City. So it was you who panicked. It was you who forced the hands of the Glazers. It was you yelling and screaming and ranting, saying that was an injustice if he went to Manchester City and not Manchester United. Alexis Sanchez to City and panic. No, it was you who said whoever gets Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal at the time, because Man United and Man City were fighting for the league. Whoever gets them, well, chances are, because he was the best player in the Premier League at the time, and he was by a country mile, are going to win the Premier League. So it was you fighting and arguing and screaming and shouting about that. Who else did you argue and shout and scream for? Oh, it was Jadon Sancho. If you get Jadon Sancho, he'll be brilliant. That's what Manchester United need to put over the line. Don't believe me? Go and look at all the clips on Sky Sports. Can't be bothered to dig them all up because I listened to you prattle on until I stopped listening to that stupid network with your lying tongue on it. But yes, that's what you said over and over and over again. Let's talk about Bruno Fernandes. He's going to be brilliant. But you also forgot that he's going to push Pogba out. And then we blame Pogba for all those decisions because Pogba and Bruno Fernandes are essentially the same type of player. And this is what happens because you're on there, bullying Manchester United into your way of thinking without any idea of the consequences of what you're saying because of your low IQ in football. And that's what's been happening over and over again. So these discussions about changing the Glazers, what you're really looking to do is bully out another manager. Now, do I think Ten Hag is the right manager for Manchester United? No, and I'm going to come on to that in a second. Actually, let's do that now. So with all my years of experience, I'll tell you what happens when you start coaching youth football in massive youth clubs, not in the UK because they're just backwards. I'm talking about, when we've got 35, 40,000 kids in a youth programme and we're looking to put players on national teams all over the world. What happens is you get a new coach, Ten Hag. Does okay for a season, wins a cup and does whatever. As the second season starts kicking in, the coach starts being bad in youth football. But that doesn't matter because what you tell all of your parents, that's the sports agents in this case, think of parents as sports agents because we'll come on to that in a second. You tell them all, doesn't matter because the manager's going to be gone in a minute. So what you've just told all the sports agents is Jadon Sancho doesn't need to apologise to Ten Hag because he's not going to be there by the end of the season. So he doesn't have to bother because the agents have all the power because, they've signed them on ridiculous contracts of £375,000 a week. He can sit there for the rest of his life, however many years it is, 5-6 years on his contract and not do anything. Just like Alexis Sanchez did, because he had such a big paycheck and he didn't have to try hard because they just said, oh, don't worry, we'll get rid of Mourinho or we'll get rid of the manager you don't like and you can play under a manager that you do want. Which basically makes all the players not care because it doesn't matter. And slowly but surely the agents know we don't really need to make our clients try hard because we can just blame it on United and the Glazers because the managers don't really have any power. The players that have got all the power at that football club and they can just see their contracts out on obscene wages. What just happened with Harry Maguire? Did he get moved on? No, because he can sit there on obscene wages because the manager doesn't really have any say and therefore it doesn't really matter. That's another problem that's going on there as well. Changing the manager, Ten Hag in this point, he can't coach. How do we know? Second season in, now the team's not his own yet. It takes 3 years for you to build a team and have your own team identity. 3 years. Some people can do it faster because they're really good coaches. Unai Emery for one. Stable club, Aston Villa. Mid-table club, Aston Villa, all of a sudden starts achieving higher than a mid-level club because it's stable at the mid-level, he's stable there, and he can elevate it on. Man United's not a stable club. So when you come in a non-stable club and you're trying to elevate it to the next standard, and we can go under all these decisions. Anthony costs Man United 80 million. No one can blame the Glazers for that. Yes, but here's a problem. All the Muppets in the media were telling them, Ten Hag's got to bring his players. Martinez is going to be the best ball-playing centre-back from the Premier League. Well, anyone with a brain went, well, he's not big enough for the Premier League. He's going to get bullied. He's going to get injured. Oh, look, he's injured because he's not strong enough for the Premier League. Yeah, well, everyone with a sensible brain could have told you that. But, of course, not the Man United. Gary Neville's trying to blame everything on the Glazers. They've been given the money. The Glazers have spent the money. Have they fixed the leaky roof? No. Do you really care if you're fixing a leaky roof? If you're in a finals and you're in the Champions League and you're pushing on to win the league? Nah, no one cares. Everyone stood in the rain cheering, But it's different. When every single thing is going wrong, every other little thing becomes a problem. The leaky roof becomes a problem. The training ground becomes a problem. Dude, you're a professional footballer. The training ground, is it important? Yeah, but they've still got world-class facilities. Let's not be babies about it. And the more this Muppet prattles on at Man United, Gary Neville, and on the media, the more problems Man United's going to have. If he steps in as director of Man United Football Club, because that's what he's going for here, by no means he's trying to push for that job. It'll be just like at Sevilla when he lost 7-0 of how bad he has, his idea of the way of the footballing world works. He doesn't have a clue. But yeah, I can prattle on for hours because I have a whole folder saved up for Gary Neville for me to do a rant on at the end of the season. But I have to get some of it out of the way now, as you can tell, because it's just annoying me because he's such an absolute muppet.